Hey guys, it's Rue. What's up? I hope you're good. Welcome back to my channel. And welcome to what I read in July because we're somehow already in August. So here are nearly all of the books I read in July. I also read an ebook. So we'll talk about this. I have all of Ali Hazelwood's books in here because I did do a Ali Hazelwood reading vlog, which will be out this month. So let's talk about those. If at any point during the video the tripod moves, like right now, or the cat jumps up on me, he's just being very needy right now for absolutely no reason. So I'm sorry about that. Alright, so first book I read this month was The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. It is my favorite fucking book, and I'm always happy to reread it. Like, you can see how many tabs I have on here, and I even have like some transparent sticky notes that I like wrote stuff on. There's a couple of places in this book that says "fuck you, Tom, if you know, you know." This book is a 5 out of 5 for me. It's just everything I ever needed. So this book is about Olive Smith, who, to make her best friend believe that she's not in love with her ex anymore, tells her best friend she's going out on a date. Now, the night that she's on this date, she's actually in the lab at school, and she sees her best friend walking by. What does she do? Well, Olive kisses the first person she sees, who happens to be Adam Carlson, who is the grumpy professor that everyone is scared of. They strike this deal of fake dating to help Olive convince her best friend that she's not in love with her ex anymore, so her best friend can date him. And it's a deal for Adam because that way the university where he works won't be seeing him as a flight risk anymore and will give him his funds. And throughout all of this, well, of course, they end up falling for each other hard. And yeah. So the tropes we have in here are, of course, fake dating. We have a grumpy sunshine. We have a hotel room sharing. We have a lot of moments that, like, are kind of awkward for her. But I just love it. Yeah. 5 out of 5. Love it. Best thing in the fucking world. Next up, I read Love on the Brain. This is my least favorite Ali Hazelwood book. I gave it a 4 out of 5. So this book is about Bee, who has been wanting to work for NASA for a long time, and she's finally in. And she is going to be co-leading a project that she's so excited about. The only problem is her co-lead is Levi, who she went to college with, and in her head they're nemesis. In her head he never liked her and always despised her. So she's not very into having to co-lead with him, but she's like, you know what, it's my dream, we're gonna do it. When she starts working there though, everything goes wrong. Her equipment never gets there, her emails are not getting sent, it all goes to shit. And well, Levi kind of is her savior, and they end up falling for each other. Something I just love in Ali Hazelwood's book is the pining. The dudes always pine so hard in her book. And something else I love in Ali Hazelwood's book are the side characters. For example, in Love Hypothesis, we have Malcolm and Anne, who are all his best friends. They're super nice. In this one, I forgot her name, but we have her assistant, who, like, I love her. And then, like, in Love Theoretically, we have the roommate. And, like, in all of them, I just love the side characters so much. Next up, I read Loathe to Love You, which is Ali Hazelwood's 3 novellas in one book. So basically, the 3 novellas are about these 3 best friends. living their life, and you know, it's their little love stories. So the first novella is Under One Roof. It is about Liam and Mara, who ends up being roommate against, well, I want to say all odds. So Mara's mentor passes away, and in her will, she leaves her house to Mara. Now, the only catch is her mentor only actually owned half of the house. The other half is owned by her nephew, Liam. And Liam does not want Mara to move in. He's just like, nah, that's like my house. I've been living here alone for a while. Like, no thank you. And Mara's like, well, you know what? I'm gonna live here for a couple months, make my bucks at my new job, and then I'm gonna move out. But you know what? They end up falling in love. I gave that one a 4.5 out of 5. The second short story is my favorite, that I gave a 5 out of 5 too. It is Stuck With You. Holy shit. So Stuck With You is about Eric and Sadie, who had this one perfect date together. They met in the morning at a coffee shop, they spent some time together, and then they went and had dinner together. They took a walk after dinner. The conversation was perfect. She ended up going to his place after, and you know, they had some sex. And it was like the best sex of their life. And then, all of a sudden, a week later, Sadie just stops talking to Eric out of the blue, and he doesn't understand why. Now, they're stuck together in an elevator, and everything comes out. In Stuck With You, well, in all of these novellas, we have dual timelines, but I really like how it is in Stuck With You, because we have this perfect day versus like together in the elevator, like every other chapter, and just really nice. In Under One Roof, how that is that we start 6 months ago when she first moved in, and then it's like, oh, 5 months and 3 weeks ago, and like a little bit of insight in all of the weeks that she lived there. Then we have the third novella, which is Below Zero, which is about Hannah and Ian. For some context, Ian is Mara's cousin, and that is how Hannah and him end up meeting. Basically, for a school project, Hannah needs to go and interview someone who has the job that she wants to do after school. And Mara's cousin Ian has exactly the job she wants to do in NASA, which is basically working on the rovers. Well, first time they meet, they are incredibly attracted to each other. They like go through his job. They have a little smexy time, little touching in his office. And he wants to keep seeing her, but Hannah doesn't do relationships, so she just dips. Years later, she now works at NASA, and, well, so does Ian. And basically, she goes and is part of the Amaz mission, which is basically going in the Arctic Circle to test out rovers to see how they would do on Mars, because of how like the ground is, and there's extreme temperatures, so it's just perfect to test them. Well, while on her mission, Hannah falls in a hole and is stuck there. She fucked up her ankle. She can't get out of there. And her team leader basically told her, like, hey, there's a storm coming in. We will not be able to send out anyone to help you, so we don't have any other casualties. And Ian hears about this and goes to rescue her. Now, how the double timeline works in this one is basically we have the back and forth between 6 months ago at NASA versus now, like with the rescue mission going on, so we can really see like what their history is together versus like what it's like now. I gave that one a 4.5 out of 5 also. Next up, we have Love Theoretically. Now, this was a reread for me. First time I read it, I gave it a 4.5. And second time, I gave it a 5. Now, I think the reason that my rating jumped like that is because first time I read it in like under 12 hours when I was on a road trip with my mom. Basically, we went to this like garden place, and there was also like a little lake, so we read there, and then we went back to the hotel room, we read there before going out to dinner. So I sped through it the first time I read it. Now I was able to really take my time with it, and holy shit, that was the way to read it. Now, this book is about Elsie and Jack. Elsie is a theoretical scientist, and Jack is an experimentalist, which are basically, she comes up with theories and he actually does hands-on stuff. Now, years ago, Jack put out this article that was basically a fake theorist article that he was able to get published in a theorist online magazine kind of thing, and it ruined first of all the way people saw theorists, and second of all a certain man's career. Now that man is now Elsie's mentor, so of course Elsie right away hates Jack. Now Elsie doesn't make a lot of money, and she needs to get this second job, which is basically being a fake girlfriend. One of her clients is Jack's brother. And so they start seeing each other at those family things, and then at work, while she's like in the interview process to work at MIT where he works. And so there's a lot of pining in this one. He is so in love with her, and she hates him and thinks he hates her. And he is the sweetest fucking man. And yeah, it's just a very good read. Next up, I read Ali Hazelwood's one and only YA book, Check and Mate. First time I read it last year, I gave it a 5 out of 5, but this time I gave it a 4.5. Now, this book is about Mallory Greenleaf, who has given up on chess. Basically, there was this big drama in her family involving her dad, who was the one who taught her how to play chess. So she just went, nah, no more chess. That was 4 years ago. And now her best friend needs one more player to go to a certain chess tournament, and basically bribes Mallory to be in. So Mallory gives in because, well, she loves her best friend. And when they get there, she wipes the floor with Nolan Sawyer, who actually has the #1 best chess rating in the world at that time. When she does that, Nolan becomes obsessed with her. And, well, Mallory gets this opportunity to get a better job than the one she currently has. But it's in the chess world, and she's like, you know what? It's gonna be a job. Like, clock in, and then, like, when you clock out, don't think about chess anymore. And, well, being in the chess world, she keeps running into Nolan over and over and over again, and they start this friendship, which slowly but surely devolves into a relationship, and it's very sweet. Next up, I reread Bride, again by Ali Hazelwood. It's her one and only paranormal romance, and I fucking love it. First time I read it, I gave it a 4.5. This time I gave it a 5 out of 5. I love rereading and seeing like how my view will change. Especially that I read this one like earlier this year when it came out, and it was so fucking good. So this book is about Misery Lark, who is the vampire, I want to say princess, but that's not like actually the thing. She is the daughter of a very well-known vampire councilman. And since she was young, she was sent to live in the human world as a collateral to basically have the peace between the humans and the vampire. Well, now she is out of the collateral since she was 18, living her life in the human world because that's where she feels like she fits in the most. And then two things happen. One, her best friend goes missing. And two, her father basically thrust her into an arranged marriage with the werewolf Alpha. Lo motherfucking Moreland. That fucking man. I'm sorry, but Ali Hazelwood men are at the same rating than Lily Gold's men for me, which is like up there. Like, they are the kind of men I would leave my husband for. And I have told him that if Adam Carlson was real and interested in me, I would leave him for him. That's the truth. And probably like Lo Moreland, I would leave my husband for him. And so now Misery lives in the Alpha Pack, and she's also trying to find out where the fuck her best friend is, while wondering why she's feeling that way towards the Alpha, who is her new husband. And yeah, gave it a 5 out of 5. It was fucking good. I love it so much. Next up, the reason why I did this reading vlog basically was to read all of Alice Hazelwood's book before I read her newest book, which is Not in Love, which is basically going back to women in STEM. And this is her spiciest book. Okay, you can see all of the little tabs here. I do tab my spice. Okay, I'm just that girl. And I give it a 4.5 out of 5. Technically, it was a 4.75 out of 5, but I don't actually count with 7 5s anymore, which made it a 4.5 out of 5 because it was not a 5. Yeah. So this is about Rue, who works at this startup as a biotech engineer. I think that is. Yeah, biotech engineer. And she doesn't do relationships. She does hookups, and that is it. And one of her rules is one time only. One day, she's supposed to hook up with this man named Eli. And you said Levi, but Levi's in another book. Named Eli. And they end up not hooking up because shit goes down while like they're at the bar and her brother shows up, and that's a whole thing. So Eli takes care of her, drives her home, and it's just overall super nice. Then the next day, Eli shows up with 3 of his co-founders at the startups that she works at, basically saying that they now own the loan that the startup was started with. So they basically kind of own the startup until the loan is paid. But there's this attraction between Rue and Eli that they can't really stop. And so they end up fucking once. And it's like, yeah, she has a one-time thing. And then again, and again. And they start being thrust into random situations together. Like a gala and a little, like, arena fundraiser thing. And they start developing feelings for each other. And I really liked it. Yeah. Next up, I read Forbidden Fae by T.W. Pierce, which I had an arc of on my ebook. Basically, I am signed up to this thing called Ferocious Readers, where you can get free ebook arcs. And that's one of the ones I had. And my dumbass, thought it was a full, just standalone. But it's actually book 1 in the series. So yeah, it kind of fucked me up. I gave that book a 3.5, but I know that if I read the second one would have had a higher rating. It's just that basically I wanted more, but I couldn't. So basically, Moira is an Eeler Fae who lives in the Vampire Sea. And, well, she's the healer for the vampires. And Adrian, the Vampire King, has taken a liking to her. But what he thinks is that she's married and he can't have her. The truth is that she's in a fake marriage because her and her husband were thrust to the Vampire Sea to spy on them and report to the Fae people. But Moira and Adrian are just more and more attracted to each other, but they're like, we can't. And then, like, their blood supply is being attacked. So Adrian is like, okay, like, I can't pursue Moira because she's married and I have to, like, save basically my kingdom. But they still keep seeing each other and falling for each other. And it was very sweet, but I just would have wanted more. So that's why I gave it a 3.5. Also, as an Overwatch player, the fact that Moira is a healer in this book and also in the game is just very funny to me. So last but not least, I reread my third favorite book. So basically, my three favorite books are Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood, Den of Vipers by Day and Night, and then Faking with Benefits by Lily Gold. So I am currently filming a 5-star rereading vlog where I reread all of my 5 stars from 2023, see if there's 5 stars, see if my mind changed, etc. Now, this book, I love it so much. Lily Gold is also one of my favorite authors, so oh my god. This book is just... Basically, this book is about Layla, who has been on 121st dates in the past 2 years, and nothing ever stuck. Sometimes she doesn't even make it through the first date. For example, first chapter of this book, her date actually jumps out of a bathroom window to get away from her. And she has those 3 neighbors / best friend who are Josh, Zach, and Luke, who have this podcast together called 3 Single Guys, where they give dating advice. Because Luke is a divorcee, Zach is a womanizer, and Josh is just a sweetheart who loves love. So they just give out some advices on the podcast. Then they basically started this bit on the podcast where they will fake date Layla to basically teach her how to date. But of course, they all start falling for each other slowly but surely. And something I like about Lily Gold's book is that the characters have backstories. They have trauma. They have big personalities, which a lot of time in reverse harems, there's not that much personality and backstory. For example, Den of Vipers, all the dudes kind of have a backstory, but we don't see much of it except for Garrett because, well, shit goes down in the book. But in this one, Luke used to be Layla's teacher in high school, and he carries that with him at the start for a reason not to get with her, even though, like, they're both adults now. He hasn't been her teacher in, like, 12 years. I think. 12 or 13 years, you know. Zach is actually grieving the loss of his first love, the girl who he thought he would marry. Josh, well, he's a sweetheart, and he's also kind of grieving his mom and grew up without a good, like, relationship role model. And Layla, well, she was bullied in high school, like, very hard, and it left her with trauma that she's still trying to get over with. So it's just, the characters are amazing, the story is amazing. I just love this book so fucking much. And yeah, that's all I read in July. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye! Now, sir, move your butt.